So, today I want to talk to you about my encounter with an angel. Now, when I hear stories of angels, I don't believe half of it. In fact, I don't believe most of it. That's because I have experience, I have spiritual experience. I understand how these things work because I have been experienced in the Lord for many years. It's kind of like if you've lived in a country, maybe you've lived in Germany, where I was just at, and you're at a party and somebody else comes up to you and they said, I used to live in Germany too, but they're not aware of the most basic German things. Maybe they've seen some videos on YouTube or they've watched some documentaries or even read some books, but they don't know the little things. They're unaware of the nuances. They don't know the things that only people who have been there and lived there would know. Well, you would know instantly that they're giving you a load of bull, that they don't know what they're talking about. And this is kind of how it is with spiritual matters. I hear all kinds of stories. You see stories on the internet, and so some of them seem like they could be true. Some of them are definitely true, but most of them aren't true. They just aren't. I know they aren't because I've just been there. After I sold my house and my furniture, my car. Well, actually, I sold my car last. But after I sold everything and gave up everything, I moved out of my house. I had a flight booked. I was ready to go and do what the Lord called me to do. But there was one problem. I had to get a health certificate for my dog. My dog, whom I love very, very much, was coming with me. I wasn't leaving my dog behind. So I had done a lot of research on bringing my dog. I had bought the kennel from Amazon. I had the correct type of kennel. I even got her a little bit better one so that she'd be more comfortable. I had a reservation for her booked with American Airlines. That's why I was flying out of Dallas, because I could put her on a nonstop flight with American to Frankfurt and she wouldn't have to make a connection. It'd be scary enough for her to be on the flight without having to make a connection. And the only thing I had left to do after I had everything ready was to get the health certificate for Sweetie Pie. And the reason I waited is because you can only get the health certificate if you're within 10 days of the flight. It's only valid for 10 days. And so I had to wait until I was within about about a week of my flight. All right, so I had an appointment with one of the few veterinarians in Houston that does international health certificates. There's not a lot of people bring their dog overseas like I'm doing. So went down there, had all my paperwork, everything ready to go, and there was a problem. Excuse me. The one big requirement for an international health certificate is the rabies vaccine. And I had my dog vaccinated. She had her rabies vaccine certificate, but the veterinarian didn't put the microchip number on the health certificate. So, not a big problem. The Easy solution to this is call my vet, who didn't do the international health certificates, and just have her reissue the certificate. It should have been a 5-minute phone call and a fax, but my vet couldn't be reached. They actually said she's out doing things with her kids today. So I had to wait. I had to go back home. And I called the next day and the next day. And the outing with her children turned into severe illness. Now she's sick at home. She is severely ill. She can't do anything, and there's nobody else in her office that could do it because she's a very small vet. She only has like one person working for her, and she's officed in the back of a feed store. Great vet though, really good vet. She does natural medicine, which I like, but never could reach her. Okay, so now days are going by. I had to reschedule my flight. I had to reschedule Sweetie Pie's flight. And now I'm staying in a cheap hotel, which even a cheap hotel is about 3 times what I would pay here in, or what I pay in Germany, and probably 4 or 5 times what I'm paying for an apartment here in Kosovo. So days are going by. We can't get a hold of her. She won't do anything. Nobody else in her office will do anything. And I'm a nice person, but really, this is just terrible. But at some point, I have to stop and I have to say, what's going on? Lord, I prayed, what are you doing? Because anytime something highly unusual happens, I mean, how unlikely is it that the vet wouldn't put her microchip number on the certificate? This is something that is standard operating procedure. How could this happen? And now she can't be reached. She's out with her kids, severe illness, who knows what. But it smells spiritual. There's something going on behind the scenes. I can tell, I know, I sense there's something. And so I have to stop and pray, Lord, what are you doing? And that's when I realized, after selling my house, selling all my furniture, giving away practically everything I own except for a few things that my daughter's holding for me and everything that goes in my suitcase, there was still one thing the Lord required of me. It simply wasn't going to work to take the dog. I was heartbroken. It just tore my heart out, but I knew this was the message. I knew I couldn't bring Sweetie Pie. So the day I realized this, it was a dark day. I was sad. Honestly, I felt like crying most of the day. And I had some running around to do. And I stopped by the Social Security office there in Conroe, Texas. It's a small office. It's not very crowded like most of them. In fact, when I went there, hardly anyone there. And I went into the office because I had to ask some questions since I recently filed for Social Security and I'm leaving the country. There was some things that I needed to find out, and I couldn't really effectively communicate with anyone over the phone. I had to go and talk in person. So I got there, I had my little talk, got everything done, all my questions answered. I even had to sign a couple of papers. And I'm walking out the door, and as I'm walking out the door, It's a middle afternoon. There's a black woman who's probably 10 feet from me wearing a trench coat. And the reason this is interesting is because it's about 90 degrees outside. It's 90 degrees outside, and this woman is wearing a trench coat with her back turned to me on her cell phone. And she is at about 2 o'clock. Coming at me at about 10 o'clock is this old man. It looks like he's probably 75 years old, and he has a Jesus Saves You t-shirt on or something like that. And he is taking itty bitty baby steps. He is shuffling toward me. And as I'm walking out, I hold the door for him, and he's about 10 feet from me also. And I just hold the door and I said, "Take your time. Don't worry about it. I got you." And as he's walking by me, he grabs his neck and holds it. And he says, "Ooh, my neck hurts." That's when I knew. He grabbed his neck at exactly the place where my neck hurts from a car accident. Hello. Other people are seeing me blogging here. And as I'm walking by, or as he's walking by, he's barely shuffling by. He says, "There's an angel out in the back of the parking lot waiting for you." And I knew he was an angel at this point. But I did what he asked me to do, or what I think he wanted me to do, and I turned and I scanned the parking lot. There was not very many cars out there. And of course, there's nobody standing out in the parking lot. There's nobody in any of these cars. It's just not that big of a parking lot. And then I glanced back, and he's gone, vanished. The lady in the trench coat is also vanished, gone. There is no way that she could have gone anywhere, even if she was an Olympic athlete. There was nowhere to go. I would have seen her. Within a second, she could not have run away. And the man I was holding the door for was gone. There's nobody there. There's nobody in the doorway. I looked back in the office. There was nothing, just gone without a trace. But I knew this was God's way of sending me a message. These were angels dispatched on my behalf to say it's okay. This is God's way of saying, "I got you, Mike. I understand how hard this is for you." This is God's compassion for me over a dog, leaving my dog. God had compassion for me leaving my dog. Now, isn't that just an amazing thing? God cared enough about my feelings. It wasn't a life-threatening thing or anything like that. God had compassion for my feelings and sent angels to say, it's okay. So I knew the dog couldn't come with me, and I started asking around, and eventually I asked my ex-wife, and she said yes. Her dog recently died just a few weeks ago, and she said, "Yes, I'll take your dog." And I don't get along with my ex-wife that good, but she is a great dog person. She's had dogs. She knows how to handle dogs. My dog's a big dog, so she knows how to do dogs. And so my dog ended up in great hands. And sure, she was sad for 2 or 3 days. She sat by the door waiting for me. But then she adjusted. And my youngest son, moved back in with her, and he has a dog. His dog's name is Ruby, and they get along great. Ruby and Sweetie Pie are buddies. They go along together. They have fun together. So everything worked out perfect. Not according to my plans, not what I would have thought, but everything really went well. If I had brought my dog with me, and it's really cold out here today, it's like 30 degrees, so I'm shaking a little bit. But if I had brought my dog with me, it would have been a disaster. I could not have done what I am doing. I could not have accomplished what I'm doing. It would have been extremely difficult. All right, so I'm shaking again. Wow, it's really cold. It's like below 30. It's in the 20s out here, which is funny because it's been in the 50s all week. All right, so God bless, and be sure to subscribe for more great spiritual experience and lessons that God shows me that I'm going to tell you. All right, thanks everyone.